Today in word study, we're going to be talking about something called suffixes. We've learned about suffixes before. A suffix is a letter or letters that you add to the end of a word. So the word is already there and you add something to the end of it, and you do that to change the meaning. So you already learned about the suffix s. And when we learned about that, what we learned was if I have a word, like for example, if I have the word dog, but I want to say that I saw more than one dog, what I can do is add an S to the end of it, and now it says dogs. That has changed the meaning because now the person knows that I'm talking about more than one. The suffixes that I want to teach to you today are the suffixes ed and ing. And what I'm going to talk to you about is when you can use these suffixes, what they look like in words, and how you can mark them up. So let's get moving with that. So first off, I'm going to put a word up here. So let me grab some letters, and when I put this word up, I want you to try to read it. See what it says. Now you maybe were sounding it out while I was putting the letters down. So if you weren't doing that, then let's try to sound it out right now. Rent. Rent. Now you might not know what rent means, but rent is when you are borrowing something and you're giving someone money for letting you use it while you're borrowing it. So some people rent a house when they go on vacation, like maybe at the beach. So they're staying there for a week. They're staying in that house, but it's not actually their house because they're renting it from a person who owns it. Some people rent a car. Like when we went on a trip, we flew somewhere and we didn't have our car with us, so we needed to rent a car. So the car belonged to someone else, but we paid them and they let us use it. Now here's the thing. For this word rent, that means to pay someone to borrow something, right? But what if what I want to say to you is that I already did it? Like last week I rented a car. Then what I'm going to do is add the ed ending, this suffix, to the end of the word. And now it changes the meaning because now someone knows that I'm not renting anything right now. I rented this. So that makes you know, okay, it already happened. It took place in the past. But what if I show up at your house and you say, oh, that's a really nice car that you have, Mrs. Bruin, but it's not my car, it's a car that I'm renting. That means that I'm doing it right now. So when you're doing something right now, you add the ing suffix to the end, and that lets the person know that it's happening right now. So now this says renting. So let's talk about how we can mark up this word. Here I have some words that we're going to practice marking up. So first off, here's the word rented that I already showed you. And then here's renting. And then here's another word that we'll talk about in just a moment. Let me grab one of my pens so that I can practice marking up. Okay. So now, when I'm marking up a word, the first thing that I need to do is I need to show the base. The base is the word that was there before I added the suffix. So you know that I added the suffix ed, right? So what I'm going to do is a scoop. Do you remember scooping when we were naming the type of syllable that it was? Well, guess what? That's what I'm going to do today. But I started by scooping this base word, right? Then I'm going to circle the suffix to show this is a suffix that was added onto a base word. Okay, now I need to look at this part that says rent, and I need to think what kind of a what kind of a syllable is this? Is this a closed syllable where there's one vowel that's making its short sound that has at least one consonant closing the door and forcing it to make a short sound? Or is this a vowel that has nothing closing the door so it could run right out the door and it's open? Well, when I look at it, I see one vowel, at least one consonant closing it in, and yes, it is making its short sound. So if you don't remember, the way to show that this is a closed syllable is by putting a C underneath. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to put that brev over the top. It's like that little smiley face to show that it's making its short sound. So now we have rented. It's a closed syllable. And I need to now check this word to see, are there any digraphs that I can underline or blends or welded sounds that I can put a box around? Well, I see that we have two consonants next to each other. Are they blending together? Rent. They are. Then I'm going to put a line underneath each consonant to show they are consonant blends. And I did it. I marked up the word rented. Okay, now if you are following along with me and you have something to write on, why don't you practice marking up this one with me? This word says renting. So I know ing is a suffix, right? It was added on to rent to show that it's happening right now. So I am going to scoop rent. I'm going to circle the suffix. I already know that it's a closed syllable because look, it's the same word that I had up here. So I'm going to mark it up the same way. I put a C for closed. I'm going to put a brev over the vowel to show that it's making a short sound. And I'm going to put two lines underneath these letters that are blending together. Renting. Okay, now, what is this word? Okay, so I put this word on here for two reasons. One, we're going to practice marking it up. Two, we're going to practice reading it because there's something interesting when you're reading words that have a suffix at the end. So I see this word, it looks pretty long and it might even feel a little bit intimidating. I'm going to use a little trick here though. I see ing at the end. I'm thinking ing is probably a suffix. So instead of worrying about that part, I'm going to focus on this part. I'm going to try to read this and see if it is a word. So let's try to sound this one out together. Twist. Twist. Is twist a word? Yes, twist is a word. Like you can twist your head to one side, right? You can twist the towel in your hand. So twist is a word. So ing in this case is saying twist is what is happening right now because I am twisting right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to underline my base word. I'm going to circle my suffix. Now I'm going to investigate this word to see a couple things. What kind of a syllable is it? And also, what are there any blends? Are there any digraphs? So let's see. This word has one vowel, okay? It's closed in by at least one consonant, okay? And what sound is that vowel making? Well, that is its short sound, isn't it? Okay, so this is a closed syllable, which means a brev goes over the top of the vowel to show that it's making its short sound. So now I need to investigate for something else. Excuse me. Are there any blends or digraphs? I see consonants that are next to each other. So are these consonants a digraph or are they a blend? TW, well, TW is not a digraph. They're keeping their sounds. Tw, tw. So I am going to put one line underneath each of them. Then I have st, st. They're both keeping their sounds also. Guess what? They also are blends. So now I have marked up this word for the base, the type of syllable that it is, the suffix, and the blends, and the vowel. So that is how you mark up words that have suffixes in them. Let's look at another word, and we're going to try to read this word, and then we're going to try to mark it up. Okay. So now I put a box around the suffix here, so you would see, okay, there's a suffix at the end. I'm not going to worry about reading that right now. I know it says ing because that's the ing ending. Let's read this part. Blend. Do you know the word blend? That is a word, isn't it? Blend, well, I've been talking about consonant blends, right? Blend is when you put two things together smoothly. I use a blender to make my smoothies when I mix things together. So we have the word blend, and then we have the ing ending. And if I wanted to mark this up, I'm going to underline the base, which just happens to be a suffix. Excuse me, it happens to be one syllable. I'm going to circle my suffix. I'm going to decide, is this a closed syllable? Let's check. One vowel, closed in by at least one consonant, and doesn't make a short sound. Yes, this is a closed syllable. And then I'm going to put a brev over the top. I'm going to mark up my consonant blends, which is kind of ironic because the word is blend. Blending. Nice job working with me today. What I'd like you to do is look through your packet and see if you have a page that has to do with suffixes so that you can practice working on this more at home. And when you're reading, see if you can find any words in your books that have suffixes. I would love to hear what you're finding.